Welcome, my friends. Welcome to our little show.
To grunt and sweat under a weary life, but the dread of something after death, the undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveler returns puzzles the will, and makes us rather bear the ills we have than fly to others that we know not of. Thus conscience does make cowards of us all. This is a copy of Saturn Rising. I have a modest magical library, and I consider this one document to be the most dangerous book I own. It contains no step-by-step instructions. There are no pictures of magic circles, sigils, or any other magical diagram that can be plugged into a ritual framework to produce results. It is, in fact, by my manner of classification, entirely theoretical rather than practical. So why do I consider it to be so dangerous that I worry about the harm it might do if it falls into the wrong hands should something unfortunate befall me? Well, theory or not, it's a book on death magic. This isn't really a bad thing. In magic, death doesn't mean quite the same thing it does when the word is used in normal conversation. In magic, death is change. Everything in nature moves in circles, and what seems to be an end is also a beginning. The wheel always turns without end. To one who understands this, the book offers fascinating insight and perhaps no small bit of power, after a fashion. But to one who does not, who takes the notion of embracing death as it might be taken in vernacular conversation, the results when one attempts to attune themselves to the currents of Saturn can be unfortunate. And death is our topic for today. This movie is The Seventh Seal, an old Ingmar Bergman classic which I prefer to watch in English rather than its original Swedish, and I'm of two minds as to whether to recommend you watch it yourself or not. The movie opens with Antonius Block challenging death to a game of chess on the beach.
You play chess, I understand. How do you know? Oh, I know it from poetry and from old legends. If I may say so, I am considered an excellent player.
What follows is a story, or perhaps a metaphor, that is relevant to every human being who has ever wondered what, if anything, is beyond death. Most of us don't obsess about this. Not because we have any answers, though we may think we do. Not because we lack imagination, though we might. We don't obsess about this because it is perhaps one of the most subtly self-destructive activities one can indulge in. We try not to think about it because we cannot comprehend the cessation of our own existence, and dwelling upon this, if we dare, nibbles away at our sanity. We are not made to be constantly aware of our own mortality, the ever-decreasing sands in the hourglass of life, the seconds ticking away on the clock. Tick. 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 No, we distract ourselves. In defense of our own sanity, we rarely ponder our own mortality, not unless some outside event bring it to the forefront of our attentions. Antonius Block is obsessed with what comes next, with what comes after. And he lacks faith.
How can we believe in those who do have faith if we've lost our own? What will happen to those of us who want to believe but cannot? And what of those who neither can believe nor want to?
So he challenges death to a game of chess for his life, or at least for more time.
This is my hand. Atkinson. The blood is still running in it. The sun is still in the sky and the wind is blowing. And I, Antonius Block, play chess with death.
Over the course of the movie, he and his servant make their way across plague-ravaged Sweden.
Can you tell me the way to the inn? What did he say? He didn't answer. Was he mute? Well, you couldn't call him mute, sire. In fact, just the opposite. If anything, he was very eloquent. Oh, yes, extremely so. But the story he had to tell was most depressing.
From time to time, he and Death play another segment of their game, until finally, inevitably, Death wins.
You're checkmated in the next.
Who saw that coming, I wonder?
You're right.
In the end, there are no answers for Antonius Block, as there are no sure answers for any of us.
And you'll reveal your secrets to me? I have no secrets to reveal. You mean you know nothing? I am unknowing.
There are no answers for any of us, either. Some of us have faith that we shall be rewarded for our actions in the next life. Some of us believe in reincarnation, that we come back to live and learn again. Some of us believe that there is nothing beyond death, that there is no God, that this is all there is. There are some, even, most amusingly, atheists who call themselves Satanists but don't believe Satan is real. Still scratching my head over that one, to be honest. And that's after having read the Satanic Bible. For myself, I believe in a higher power, though I do not pretend to comprehend its nature. I don't worry about the existence of God. No, my own worry, my own terror, in fact, comes from a slightly different source. Like Saturn rising, the seventh seal resonates with me because, like Antonius Block, I cannot comprehend what comes next, and there is no one who can explain it to me. I know lots of theories, but there is one fact of relevance, one thing I cannot get around, and this is what breaks my mind. It is my firm belief that something of me will survive, my soul, if you will. But a soul is an ephemeral, nebulous thing, if it even exists, with no physical form. The awareness I refer to as me is the sum of many different electrochemical processes that, not to put too fine a point on it, require a brain, a physical component. This means that the person that is speaking to you now, the person who calls himself I, who thinks that Satanists are so silly for not believing in Satan, the person who is thinking these thoughts, will cease to exist. If this video sticks around long enough, perhaps this has already happened. Perhaps I'm already gone. Something will survive, but it cannot be me. I will end. I will cease to exist. And if I cease to exist, do I really exist now? This awareness that I can think, that I can know, for a given value of know myself, that I can be me and then suddenly all of that is gone. This is not something my mind can wrap itself around. For me, it is truly terrifying in the most insidious way that is thankfully not possible to communicate in words. Which is good, because this understanding is a most terrible thing, and I would not wish it on my worst enemy. Well, maybe my worst enemy. But not seriously. Antonius Block never found his answer. Like the rest of us, like me one day, death comes for him and his companions. Some of us turn to faith in hopes that we will continue beyond the grave. Some of us decide that's silly and try not to think about death and enjoy life while they can. Some of us think up inventive and desperate possibilities like so-called quantum immortality to either comfort or terrify themselves. And we are left with the question,
What will happen to those of us who want to believe but cannot? And what of those who neither can believe nor want to?
if you couldn't guess, this is personal for me. Antonius Block at least had death to play chess with. But in the end, death could not give him the answer. Perhaps there is no answer. Not for the night, not for us. Perhaps, though I do not so believe, there is no God. That thought is even more terrifying in this context. We humans, we act as if we will always exist, but that's a little silly. Sooner or later, an extinction level event will come along and then no more humans. At least, not if we haven't colonized other planets. But someday, a day uncounted generations in the future, but nevertheless inevitable, our sun will die. When that happens, if humans are still around and haven't colonized planets in other solar systems, that's the end of all of us. I don't mean just the end of anyone who might be alive at the time. It's much worse than that. Because few indeed will be the traces that humans ever existed. The Earth will end up a charred, airless, lifeless cinder. And all that will remain of us, if there's anyone to find it, will be the Voyager spacecraft and perhaps a few other interstellar probes, long dead, lost and alone in the endless night between the stars. In context, how can anything we do today matter? This is not a frivolous question, nor is it one that anyone can answer for us. But perhaps I am going about this the wrong way. Perhaps the answers cannot be found at all, but must be made. No priest, no theologian, no prophet or holy man can claim to know for certain what lies beyond death's veil, if indeed anything does. An external meaning cannot be imposed upon us if we cannot accept it. So we've got to find or make that too, I guess. And who knows? Maybe heaven is real. And maybe the science fiction dream of federations and commonwealths and empires of planets will one day come true and be the salvation, or at least the continuation of our species. We can dream, and we can lie to ourselves. I suppose we can say whatever we have to. Perhaps one day I'll find a story to tell myself that will comfort me when I must face the Reaper. I don't know. But I hope you can find your own answer, or can so distract yourself that you don't require one. Watch this movie at your peril. I promise it will be relevant. But I can't promise you'll thank me for recommending that you watch it.
Death comes first, with his scythe and his hourglass. Poor old cat, he straggles behind them at the end of the line. They go further away, away from the sunrise, in their stately den, to the dark country beyond the horizon, while the rain gently washes their faces and cleanses the tears from their cheeks.
Oh, Joff, you and your visions.
That's all for today, people. Be well. And may we find or make the answers we seek. I'll see you next time.